Hello, this is Jessica Nangreve and this is my video journal entry for Dream Bigger Dreams, which was the 3rd of June. Basically I'm just going to talk through the plan that we had in the first place for, basically it was Dream Bigger Dreams is kind of, it's activities for younger, organised by Sheffield University for younger people in the community, working with students from the university and working together. And what we decided to do was using coloured paper, felt pens, crayons, coloured pencils, and all that other kind of arts and craft things. We wanted to encourage children to talk about their favourite places, and we called it Story in Rotherham, so kind of encouraging the kids to talk about their favourite places in Rotherham. And the plan was to get the children to draw their favourite places to begin with, and then we started to explore that further by saying, you know, what does the place look like? What would it smell like? What could you smell when you were there? What would your building say, or what would your place say? If your place was a person, what would it look like? We kind of got the idea from Simon Armitage, his lectures in Story in Sheffield in the first couple of weeks. And we kind of like copied the idea after that because we thought it was a really good format and worked really well with the students. So we kind of tried to put that in a kind of structure that would work with younger children. Before we got there, I was expecting that it would be a kind of classroom type setup, which was a little intimidating for me because the thought of having to take on a teacher-like role is something that I would find quite scary and intimidating because it's something I've never had experience of before. But when I arrived, I was really surprised to find that it was just a small stall in the middle of Rotherham city centre. But I felt much more comfortable with that, and I thought it was in such a good location as well because it's half term, the parents going past with their kids, and luckily, because obviously of the structure that we decided to do for the Dream Bigger Dreams, it was really colourful, and the guy that had organised it had bright orange balloons everywhere, and this was great because you know, this was attracting children because, you know, bright colours and balloons are what all children seem to love. And after the first few children had began like come over and started drawing, I felt myself getting really involved in it because I wasn't sure like how I would feel about it or stuff. Like with all the other projects that I've done with Story in Sheffield, you know, it's going into unknown territory, so yeah, I was getting really involved and really enjoying myself, and I was really impressed and not surprised, but sort of I felt that the creativity of the children was really impressive. You know, I think sometimes that because I'm not around children very much, then I forget or don't realise it's sort of their imagination and their creativity is something that's really unique and different from adults. And yeah, one of the incredible things about children's minds are the lack of barriers of their thoughts, which means that their creativity isn't held back. Like, you know, some of the kids were, you know, drawing castles and monsters, and one adorable little boy was just scribbling on paper, just all different colours, and each scribble had a description. So there was a pink scribble and he was like, oh, these are roses, my mum loves roses, and then he scribbled another yellow scribble, and he was like, this is a magic carpet. And I said to him, oh, is it gonna fly away? And he was like, don't be silly, there's nobody on it yet. And just did another scribble, and he was like, oh, everyone's on it now, it's ready to go. And it was so it was really interesting, because this whole page of scribbles had you know, this little boy had given it all this meaning, but you know, really it was just different coloured crayon scribbles. But I just thought that was really interesting as well. And I found as well that the children took to the concept really well, and they were really responsive to the sort of the steps of the task, and willing to explore their favourite places further than just, you know, what it looks like. You know, making a story from start to end. I mean, some of the younger kids, like I said, that it wasn't a typical story, you know, with the picture and the places, but you know, I felt like there was lots behind it, and each one was a story, even though it wasn't in the conventional style. And yeah, like I said before, I've not really had much experience working with the children, but I found today really rewarding, and I did really enjoy it, because you know, you could see they were enjoying themselves, and they appeared to be really happy. There was no squabbles or tears, because you know, I think of children sometimes and you just think, oh, they're going to be screaming and crying, but the look of concentration on some of their faces was, you know, it was just fantastic, and they were just really getting into it, and it was, you know, and it was rewarding, because it was something that, you know, me and the rest of the guys had sort of devised this plan, and the kids were really taking an interest in it, which, you know, made me feel like really, you know, really great that I had a part in this, and all these children were enjoying it. And as well, I was really, Dave and Brendan have said this as well, but I was really impressed with everyone's effort. Everyone was good with the kids, friendly, encouraging, you know, and worked really well, and we all worked well together. And even Lucy, who is usually, you know, lovely girl, but she's usually very shy and reserved, and even she got really stuck in, and she was really helpful, you know, collecting names so we can, when we get all the pictures up, then we can put the names to the pictures and give it some kind of structure, which was brilliant. I was really impressed with everyone, and we worked really well together, as I think that we always do anyway. I think Story in Rotherham is a great example of university working with the community, and I think it benefits both parties, because like me, Jenny, Dawn, Matt, Sarah and Lucy have taken a lot from planning this and being involved in it as well. You know, working as a team to organise a 2-hour session, you know, with kids coming and going, it's not the easiest. I enjoyed it, but you know, it's not easy. You know, it did take a bit of planning, and then working together when we were there, like at the actual session as well. And I feel like I do with every one of these sessions that I go to, whether it's working with children or older people, or you know, just general members of the public. And I think that it really is developing essential people skills, you know, trying to communicate with the children and with the parents. Like, some of the children didn't have a full grasp of English, but you know, we were still managing to communicate with them through pictures, and I thought that was really incredible as well. And yeah, sort of encouraging children to explore their creativity is really, I think it's important, and it is again rewarding, and I enjoyed it, and I did enjoy working with children, and it is something I'd be interested in doing again, because like I said, it's not that teacher role, it's more a sort of enabler, like working with them, you know, not telling them what to do, just giving them instructions and letting their own creativity sort of roll with that, which was, you know, I really enjoyed that, and I think everyone did as well. I think everyone had a really good day. And as well, I think it is beneficial for the community because, you know, the children are having fun and they were praised for their creativity, and, you know, that sort of that look on their face when you tell them how good their drawings are, and, you know, I think it means a lot to them, and I think it is really essential to encourage children, you know, to sort of be creative and, you know, looking at stories and things. I think that's really good. And also, you know, which is beneficial again for both, is, you know, raising awareness of the university, so the university can get itself out there in the wider community. And it's also, you know, giving, you know, the kids were only young, some of them were as young as 2 maybe, but it's still getting the idea of university into their minds, and I think, you know, that can only be a good thing whether they decide to go down that route or not. I also think it's a step in the right direction for leading students out of that sort of university bubble, and allowing us as students to take more from our temporary community while we're at university. Storey and Rotherham is something that I wouldn't have imagined that I'd be doing at university, or even working with children really, because, you know, you're just thinking sort of academic stuff, or, you know, I wouldn't really, you know, working with the community full stop, I wouldn't have thought that I would have much involvement in that. However, I feel that being given this opportunity has really enriched my understanding of the wider culture of Sheffield, you know, the bigger world out there, rather than just, you know, your university friends and going to uni. You know, and it's not just that I'm sort of exploring that, I'm really enjoying myself at the same time. I'm having, you know, a really great time doing all these different things, taking so much away from it as well. I much preferred going back to the actual, you know, the Storey and Rotherham today. I much preferred the casual interactions with the children, parents, rather than this sort of strict lesson plan that we'd put together, because, you know, we were just covering every entry there, like trying to cover it all, so, you know, there wasn't much room for mistakes. But, you know, that was just, we still stuck to the basic structure of our plan, but because, you know, kids were coming and going and we weren't all starting at once and finishing at once, I found it just flowed much more easily, and we were all allowed to sort of like separate off and stuff. And I think, you know, the more events like Storey and Rotherham that we did today, I think they should become more of a fixture for the University of Sheffield. I think it's innovative, and I think that the students, you know, as well as the community, benefit greatly from it, so it can only be a good thing. And I think it's a really good direction to take. So that is the end of my journal about Storey and Rotherham, which I've basically really enjoyed. And I think it'd be good to be thinking about similar things for future Storey in Sheffield seminars and things.